I've run into companies where for some reason they just never have attempted any form of digital ads or any kind of spend. And even $5,000 a month seems daunting to them just because they're not familiar with the fact they're going up against, like, I don't know, like Macy's or what's a bigger company, McAfee or Semantics or all the other, giant companies are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, possibly competing against them. How do you enrich their minds and give them the awareness of, like, hey, everyone's online?
The thing that I like to really go out and do
Hmm.
is go search for folks or companies that are actually advertising in the space and not spending the hundred thousands of dollars each month. There's almost always competitors that they've never heard about or adjacent competitors. And when I say an adjacent competitor, they're bidding on similar audience personas, similar keywords, but they might not be the perfect one-to-one feature set for them. But they are in the same area, they're doing the same things. If you can find a couple of them and say, hey, there are some folks out here doing it at 2,000, 5,000, $10,000. It gives a little bit of like encouragement in the sense of, okay, if they're out there, there must be something working. There must be something that we can do to get to that. But showing them that there is some sort of other competitors out there competing, because if you just pull and you find a list of 5 competitors and they're all spending $1 million a year, it's like, how are we going to take on Goliath? And a lot of times the answer is you don't. You look at them, you kind of copy them, just like art, you mimic what's working really well and you implement it in a smaller set. If they've got a really good landing page, you don't have to reinvent the wheel and design a new landing page style. You need to, mix it up and everything. But if there's a form on the right and a button here and, there's no header, you should probably copy that in some capacity. Same thing, if they're doing content on a webinar, it's like, hey, if everyone's doing webinars, you can kind of steal that from the Goliath and implement it in your own way and then put a spin on it. So where are you in your journey and station in life? You know that there's others there, it makes you feel better. Same thing in advertising, that you can go, oh, somebody else is spending 2,000. They must be having some success if they've done it over the past, 12 months.
No, it's perfect. Yeah. Right. Just showing them some similar things,
Mhm.
get them an idea of, like, others.
Yeah.
There's always someone out there doing it. So the other path that I see, like, we're going back a little bit to people that are the let's just say they're already invested mentally and spiritually into digital ads and marketing, but they're seeing
Mhm.
more results on trade shows. Like, they've already invested thousands of dollars, in the digital ads, and it's just not generating the results they want. Maybe they're not getting the right people, but they know if they go to these events, they're getting more people. So they're like, what do I do? Like, both are expensive.
A lot of times those digital marketing efforts on paid have not been executed properly. A lot of times I come in and see a lot of scheduled demos, a lot of like broad set, I'm dumping them at the homepage and they're like, hey, we're not working. Just like a trade show. If you're going to a trade show about food and bev, and I'll go back to that, you can't just show up and just have your messaging generic. You can't just have your booth there. You're probably going to have something that's tailored to the food and beverage. You're probably going to have messaging there. You're going to have case studies ready. You're going to have some sales folks that know that industry. You're going to be prepared to the teeth to talk to folks that are in that industry. Same thing when they're doing that. A lot of times they're not doing that on the paid perspective. They're doing more of a shotgun effect and kind of just shoot and aim afterwards. And you have to have those conversations, and they're often a larger strategy conversation of, hey, we can't dump everybody at the homepage. Like, that's not a good one. We should probably break this out in segments. You should probably service food and beverage. You should probably service, specific type of restaurants, hospitality, or something like that. But let's break those campaigns out to have better messaging. I would say 9 times out of 10, that's inevitably what happens. And the outcome 6 months later on segmentation and some of those messaging shifts make a significant change. And then they start to go, hey, we can pair that stuff up. So, especially if they're going to these conferences, another way is, hey, give us that conference list. We're going to make a remarketing list and run some ads to get those folks to schedule a demo. They already know who you are. That's going to be the easiest, maybe a couple $1,000s that you spent. And then you also know a lot of times in B2B world, the buying parties, 4 or 5 people. It's not always the person you talk to initially. You can hit the whole company and say, hey, we're going to get everybody on this list based on company. Let's show them we know security. Let's show them that we do this. And let's talk about them in this way. I would say the other thing is everyone's got a list of customers. Load that into LinkedIn and do a lookalike audience very similar to Facebook and get the message that closed on them and then shove that into some ads, do lookalikes, and keep iterating on those messages.
Ooh, like following up on that too. We're in the primarily SaaS world, right? That we're in for tech. A lot of the revenue models today are ARR or MMR. It's all recurring revenue. What can you do for companies? Because we run into this too, where they're like flash in the pan. They get a bunch of new users and clients in the beginning, but they're not keeping them. The churn is high.
There's one perspective that you can use is keeping customers is cheaper than acquiring new customers almost always. You can start to use digital ads in
Hmm.
some capacity to actually implement like a ad that runs to your current customers. So just like, you can do email newsletters, you can do this stuff. You can run an ad to kind of get them to come back and say, "Hey, we've got new features, we've added new things," or the thing that I really like, and a lot of companies I don't think execute on it that often, is give some sort of perks to your existing customers. Just like a cell phone company, all the perks are always for new customers. Why don't you do the same thing and offer it for existing customers? If you want to stop churn and it's 20% and you need to bring it down to like a SaaS average of 5, let's go hit it with the ads. You need to have your account executive team kind of hitting them at the same time. But those folks that are not in there, load them in a list, do that. And then at the same time, you can load the folks that are staying and go advertise and prospect out there. And you might have to do some customer interviews to understand like why are they staying, what's the thing, and then same thing on those churn exit. What was the problem? Go to that to product and see if product can fix it. But you can use that message of, okay, I know what the problems
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
Let's stray away from those as unique value props so that folks don't come in and churn too quickly. Let's focus in on the things people are staying for. It might be, oh, hey, I'm staying because this one feature that ties into Google Sheets saved my life. And everybody else that's churning is like, oh, hey, I use Office 365. It's like, oh, hey, super simple, don't go after Office 365 users. Your ad right now says all email or any platform. Super
Yeah.
simple change. It can make a difference. Again, it's a lot of ads is also a lot of talking to folks and figuring out what they actually want, and then testing that ad to see that that click-through rate increased and that person converted, and then saying, "Okay, great. That path worked really well. Let's double down on it. Instead of $100, a day, let's double it to $200 a day," like easy things to kind of invest in and double down on.
Yeah, there's never enough love for current customers. I'm sure, like, they get their dedicated CSMs that reach out to them and do the face to face. But I mean, part of the reason
Mhm.
they became a customer in the first place
Yep.
was probably the digital marketing strategy, right? And so taking that away out of nowhere and replacing
I
it
agree.
with a new cog might not always be the best. Cool. And, we're getting to the end of the podcast. I want to end with something not too
Mhm.
spicy, but more often than not, this digital marketing space is pretty saturated, right? You run into a lot of people that it's kind of, I called it Field of Dreams. If you remember that movie, it's pretty old, where
So,
the notable line from it is like, if you build it, they will come. People think that's still true, and it's not anymore, right? The
the
line
the
that you
thing
have
that
with
I
them.
really like to do is jump into an account and say, "Hey, like, what is wrong?" Because I think there might be a sales issue if you're getting a bunch of leads, or, hey, you're not getting any clicks. But if I can jump in and look, for an hour, put together quick slides, I can say, hey, your search terms have been very bad. Like there's an issue along the path. And that one conversation oftentimes either gives them an ability to turn around and say, hey team, we've been doing really good, but some of these small little parts is what we've missed.
Perfect. Well, guys, we're at time. Thank you for that, Leon. You can find us wherever podcasts are found, and Leon will have his information up as well if you want to connect with him. Thanks for joining us at Quickfire Marketing. Toodaloo. I don't know why I said that.
No, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I like
Toodaloo.